Hi guys, yeah, been a while, hasn't it? Okay, it's time for a gear review. It is, and I threatened to do this video quite a while ago. But before I get on with it, yeah, if you enjoy this video, if you get something useful out of it, give it a thumbs up, give it a like, give it a nice comment below, and feel free to share it with your friends. Yes. So, yeah, as I said, I've been threatening to do this video, or I did threaten to do it a while ago, and it's a video on this. The i1Studio. Yes, and sort of kind of hard to quantify this little device, really. It's really good. I have got a gripe with X-Rite though, but more of that in a moment. And what I'm going to do principally is to, if you remember, I did a video on colour images, screen calibrators, and yeah, God, that video done half get some traffic, I'll tell you. But I did a comparison video of screen calibrators. That's just standalone screen calibrators. A while ago, where we tested this, which is the i1 Display Pro, and a couple of Spider calibrators as well, and this came out on top. And I did those calibration tests inside ISO's Colour Navigator, and as you know, I run on a hardware calibrated monitor, so much better than running on a software calibrated monitor, where all you're doing is warping the graphics card output, whereas when I do the profile that I make is actually stored within the internal LUT of the machine as well as on the computer. So what I'm doing is I'm not calibrating the graphics card, I'm calibrating this. And so the software that I use, in this case ISO's Colour Navigator 7, can use pretty much any screen calibrator that is on the market. And as such, it represents the best level playing field test that you can get, because it uses the tools just to do exactly the same job as each other. All right, and then you get this validation report at the end of it. So what I've done is I've tested the screen calibrator part of this with the screen calibrator here. And as I said before, this is a colorimeter, and this is not a colorimeter, it's a spectrophotometer. And the fundamental difference between a colorimeter and a spectrophotometer, as far as you guys are concerned, is it's a little bit more accurate, and so costeth a wee bit of a bigger chunk of your hard-earned wedge. Yes, and speaking of hard-earned wedges, I'll be 100% upfront with you. XP Distribution, good old Dave Mobbs, who actually doesn't seem to work at XPD anymore. I don't know where he's gone, but yeah. But anyway, XP Distribution sent me this up so that I could give you guys my thoughts. Yeah, and so here we go. I'm going to just do this comparison between these two devices. Why would I be doing it? Because I've been blooming well asked, that's why. And the thing is, as far as I'm concerned, you guys fall into two camps. You've got those of you who don't print your own images. You send them away to be printed, if you have them done at all. And so it is intensely important that you make sure that your monitor is calibrated accurately to a universally accepted ICC industry standard. This is possibly the best tool for you guys to purchase and use. However, those of you who do own a printer or who want to get into desktop printing of your own images. Yes, you can use the canned profiles from the paper manufacturers, but you always have to remember that they are produced on a particular printer that might be slightly more knackered than your brand new version. So the colours might be out just a little tiny bit. So what you want to be able to do is to produce a custom profile, and this baby produces custom profiles. Now, I'm not going to be actually making a custom profile in this particular video because it takes quite a while, and but I will talk about the profiles in a moment, and I will actually do a video on making profiles with this sometime in the future. But this i1Studio colorimeter takes the place of the good old Colour Monkey photo. And I'm going to sidetrack myself here a little bit. I'm a wee bit peeved, for those of you who aren't English, that means pissed off, at X-Rite, because with the Colour Monkey photo, we used to have a second application that came with the software bundle, which enabled you to measure spot colour. And you can't really measure spot colour with this, but the thing is, this measured spot colour and actually gave you the LAB and sRGB values for that spot colour, and it was immensely useful. And we'll talk about why it was immensely useful momentarily. But let's just cut to the chase and have a look at the two separate calibrators and set to calibrate to the same target. So the target brightness was 120 candelas per square metre. The black level was set to minimum, which is the minimum achievable by the actual monitor itself. Both were set to calibrate for 6500 Kelvin, a gamma of 2.2, and grey balance, which is something I actually prefer because it tends to line all my neutrals up and make sure they are as neutral as possible. And so, yeah, that's why I calibrate the way I do. And so we've got two validation reports here out of Colour Navigator 7. And over here on the right is the i1 Display Pro. And you can see it gives us a contrast ratio of 444 to 1. And on the i1Studio, it's ever so slightly smaller at 402 to 1. Now you might think, oh well, that's bloody hell, Andy, that's 43 to 1 difference. It's in the grand scheme of things, it's like that big, if that. You could not tell the difference, and the fundamental reason why it's a little bit lower is the actual spectrophotometer is a little bit more accurate and tends to do less rounding up and rounding down than the colorimeter. So if you're not into printing, brilliant little choice. If you are into printing, good choice. But anyway, let's get down. Ooh, drunk, fell over. Let's get down to the business end. Scoot right down to the bottom of these two validation reports. And as you can see, the i1 Display Pro, we're only interested in Delta E 2000 variation. So it gives an average variation across 134 test patches of 0.34, and the i1Studio color spectrophotometer 0.39. The colorimeter, the i1 Display Pro, maximum deviation of 1.5, and for the Spectro 1.72, neither of which are worth worrying about, and white deviation 0.26 on the spectro and 0.13 on the colorimeter. So fundamentally, absolutely, there's nothing in it. I'll guarantee you can't see any difference. You're going to struggle to see a difference here, but I will just show you, because I have the two calibrations that I can switch between. This is a shot from earlier this year on a very gloomy, very rainy, dismal day. Quite a rare thing in the Snowdonia National Park. I was with my good friend and patron Jeff, and this is the North End boathouse on Lindinas, yes. And yeah, really gloomy shot. It is what it is. But the thing is, if I just pull up the histogram in Lightroom, you see here at the end of the histogram, there is a little tiny wee gap. Okay, that means there isn't a pure black anywhere in this image. The Lightroom histogram isn't very good at showing you low level signals over towards the right hand side, but there isn't any pure white in here either. And so you can't say it looks low contrast, but it is, because let's define what contrast is. The contrast is how many intermediate greys, or how long or how short the grey scale is in between black and white. And the closer black and white are, the more compressed are the intermediate values of grey, therefore the higher the contrast of the image. If you spread black and white out, you actually open up the contrast and get a reduced contrast image. And then if you haven't got a pure black and you haven't got a pure white, then the contrast is down ever so slightly more. So I do keep banging on about getting contrast under control. And yeah, it is what it is. But here we go. If I just come up here and click on my top tag for Colour Navigator, you can see at present I'm in Cal 1. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll start Colour Navigator so you can see exactly what it is that I'm doing. And I seriously don't think you're going to notice a difference. I can't see a difference here, so you'll never see a difference between what I'm going to do and what we've got already when I switch calibrations. But as you can see at the moment, I'm running on Cal 1, number 5, which is the i1Studio. And I can go and switch to Cal 2, which is the i1 Display Pro. Can you see any difference in the image? I can't. Is there any difference? No. None. So even 402 to 444 contrast ratio, you can't tell the difference. You seriously can't. But anyway, we'll shut that down, and now you can see it's sort of cycling through its funny business. It's going to get back to 5 Cal 1, and then it will disappear. Thank you. Lovely jubbly. And so let's just bring these tables back up again, because I've just mentioned blacks and whites, and this is where I get into a pet peeve when I see so many videos on YouTube working in the likes of Lightroom and Photoshop, where they tell you to go and set your black point and set your white point. It's rubbish. It really is. And to be quite honest, kids, you're actually being sold down the river. You're being sold a lemon, you're being sold a pop. Absolutely. I never set my black point and white point. I never have images returned from clients. I never have images rejected in terms of poor contrast or anything like that. And why is that? It's certainly not because I set a correct white point and black point, because I don't set them at all. But here's the thing. when somebody says you set your black point, make it nice and black, yes. Let's get contrast in, let's fill those blacks out. Yeah, cool. Monitor. You look at the colour patches, yeah? Colour patch number 1, 000 RGB. In other words, 000 lab. Measured lab, 2.28 on the spectro, 2.03 on the colorimeter. So, don't forget, colorimeter, i1 Display Pro, spectrophotometer, i1Studio. Now, you'd think, oh, well, Andy, but I want my higher contrast. No, you don't. If you are printing, you will struggle to find a printing paper, printer ink combo that can reproduce a contrast ratio much bigger than 200 odd to 1. 200 to 1 is an average gloss paper contrast ratio. So, you know, I mean, telling people to set their contrast to their screen to 1,000 to 1, it's just el stupido. So, you know, I mean, that's it. My little rant is hopefully over. Is it? Yes, I think so. So, no, it isn't. No, I lie. So, we can't produce a black on our monitor, but we can produce something that's very near to black. However, this is where I sort of get my little pet peeve with X-Rite. The i1Studio is a replacement for the old Colour Monkey, as we mentioned, and we used to be able to measure spot colour with the Colour Monkey photo. We can't do accurate spot colour, as I said before, with this. Now, why would some lunatic like me want to measure spot colour? Really, really simple. You can get sample packs from paper manufacturers, and this is just a fraction of the size of the Permajet sample pack that I got given at the NEC years ago by Auntie Louise. Yes. Now then, the nice thing about getting sample packs of paper is that even if they've got an image printed on them, you can, with spot colour, you can actually measure the paper white. Because let's face it, the brightest white that you can have in a print is paper white, isn't it? You don't have white ink in your printer, do you? No. So your brightest white you can have in a print is paper white. But what you could do is you could go and print a black block on these sample packs, and with a spot colour facility, you can actually measure the colour of that black block. So therefore you can measure the density of black, or the maximum density of black, that you can reproduce on your particular printer ink chosen paper combination. And we've got a portrait white here, which is a semi-textured paper, a little bit on the matte side, and the white point of this paper is 249 red, 248 green, 245 blue. Alrighty, so it's got a slight reddish green tinge to it. It's slightly deficient in blue, but its black point is 36, 38, 40. Yes. Now if we go to a slightly more satin paper, moving towards gloss, but not gloss. We've got the ubiquitous Permajet Oyster 271. And this measures out at a paper white of 240, 245, 244. So it's a slightly cooler paper. And its black point is a little bit darker. It's 22, 23, 24 RGB. Yeah? So what's the point in setting, or to what end would you set your black point in your image at anything below 22, 23, 24? Complete and utter waste of time setting it to 0, 0, 0 or even 10, 10, 10 as your black point in your image. Basically because when you come to print it, all your dark shadow detail is going to be crushed to the deepest black that can be printed on the paper. All right. So your black point, when you come to do a print at least, your black point needs to be at the same black point as the paper that you're going to. Now, a lot of that gets taken care of in making the custom profile. That's where something like this comes in. But, you know, I hope this is sinking in. And, oh my lord. Yeah, Parchment 285. Woohoo! Adder shot by yours truly. Yes, don't think they use that anymore. But that, see, for a paper white, that's 248, 245, 240. But then we come to a gloss paper, which is gloss 271, which is 237 red, 243 green, 242 blue. So it's not the brightest gloss paper. Doesn't have many optical brighteners in it. But the black point is 21, 22, 23. So it's a little bit on the cool side. And it is the blackest black that you can print on this paper. So there we go. So what's the point in having white points set at sort of 250 and black points set in the single figures or very low doubles, like in the low teens, when you can't print it? And also, with regard to black point, you can't even get your monitor to display it. Do you want to know what the darkest colour is your monitor will display? Do you want to know what it is? Turn the bloody thing off and then look. And that's it. So, you can't make black light. Forget about CSI black light. You can't make black. The only way you can make black is to turn the goddamn thing off. Alright? So, that's why with TVs, that's why these Super OLED TVs are so much money, because they reproduce a black or a dark, which is a lot closer to black than your average TV. So, anyway, there you go. My little rant is over. But of course, the blackness of your blacks and the whiteness of your whites forms your contrast, okay? And this is why I always say that global contrast or globally applied contrast, such in excess, such as you get in Lightroom by default, is your worst enemy. Yes, it is. But that's my little rant over. With regards to profiling, custom profiling, now, here's the thing. Behind me, there's a desk, and on that desk is an old Epson printer. I can't even remember what model number it is. But it was dumped on me because it was just blocked, and the owner was going to chuck it in the bin. And he said, but you can have it if you can get it working. So I had a look at the printer, and the only thing that was wrong with it was the print heads were very, very, very severely blocked. Totally blocked. So we managed to get them unblocked, and I bought a replacement set of refillable third-party cartridges for it, and fill those cartridges with the ink that goes in my Epson 4800 printer. That ink is not supposed to go in this little wee printer. So that little wee printer was using ink that it's not designed, it is not the factory specification ink to run through the printout, but it goes through no problem. Now the next little variant is this. We were digging around in some old drawers, and why we came out with 2 packets of this abomination, I do not know. Photo Printasia, supposedly made by Ilford. A4, no profile support for it, and it must be, well, it was bought from Woolworths. When did Woolworths go belly up in the UK? A long time ago. So we've got this paper, absolute junk it is, but with that printer running ink it's not supposed to run, and paper that is absolute junk and is 20 odd years old, we fired up the i1Studio and we produced an initial test chart. Now this test chart is a lot more comprehensive than it used to be with the old Colour Monkey. A lot more comprehensive. And then once this is printed out and dried, you then measure it, and the software gives you another test chart to print out. So it takes 2 A4 sheets to create a custom profile using this device. And if you're actually wanting to produce a custom profile for a A3 paper, ta-da! Top money saving tip: use 1 sheet of paper and cut it in half. Yeah, then you only use 1 sheet for producing a custom profile, so you are using exactly the same amount of paper as you would do if you were using this baby's really big cousin, who will take all your wedge and then some. Yes, ooh, big wonga. Yeah, but it looks as if naughty boys at X-Rite, with the old spot colour thing, looks like if you want to do spot colour measurements, looks like they want you to go and spend big wonga, yes, big money, on buying the Big Daddy calibrator. Or you could go and buy Parallels, which is a lot cheaper if you're on a Mac, and just run a earlier OS inside Parallels, where the original Colour Monkey software will still run, because it's us Mac users who are suffering more than anybody else with the demise of the Colour Monkey. But one thing I will tell you is that when you calibrate either the Colour Monkey or this, they have a little white tile in them. You have to move the dial, and it points the detector at a calibration tile that's buried deep inside the mechanics here. Over time, that white calibration tile can change in colour, yeah? So it can go a little bit dull, a little bit grey, or whatever, but only after a certain number of years you might just see that these things wander off a little bit. And So, of course, nothing's designed to last forever, and calibrators don't last forever. But this is really good. But anyway, to get back to the little tail of printer, and once we produce the profile for this printer, I think I can actually go and fetch it up. If we open up the ColorSync utility, here we go, and it's down here under the P's, I think. Print easier, there it is. Yes. And there we go. And there is the custom profile for that old knackered destined for the bin Epson printer, using the wrong ink on crap paper. And there's a white-tailed seagull, which I pretty much doubt if you can see much better than that. Just try and angle it down a little bit. That doesn't look too bad, does it? No, not really. Just trying to get the zebra stripes off it in my little monitor here. And there is a Arctic skewer. Yes. Little brown pirate in a cloudless blue sky. And he's looking quite cool. So the fundamental benefit of being able to produce custom profiles is that it enables you to make huge savings when you print. If you switch out to Lyson ink or Marrot ink or even Permajet ink, it enables you to run at a fraction of the ink cost of buying OEM ink. Buying cartridges for your printer that come pre-filled with ink is the worst drain on your photography purse. And it is truly shocking what print manufacturers get away with charging for these pre-filled cartridges. And seriously, I will be paying probably 2 to 3 pence per square inch on my medium format printer if I was using OEM ink and cartridges. I use a bulk cartridge and ink from pretty much the same bulk manufacturer as the OEM ink, and I'm printing for about 1/4 of a penny to 1/3 of a penny per square inch. So it is a phenomenal saving. Alrighty. So there you go. That's my summation or summary of this little device. If you are either already doing your own printing and you want to move away from using canned profiles supplied by the paper manufacturers, and you want to start doing your own custom profiles, this baby will sort you well out. I was really impressed at how good a profile this will create. And you've seen this image before, and that's printed on a Calumet paper, or should I say a Wex paper now, I don't know. Brilliant silver gloss natural, and the profile was created with this baby. So there you go, guys and gals. It's been a bit of a rant, it's been a bit of a ramble, and yes, it has been a gear review, and yes, I was sent this, as I said before, for my thoughts. So I haven't bought it with my own money, but would I? Of course I would, because that's too old. That is too old now. God, that's got to be 12, 13 years old, if not slightly more. So, yeah, very pleased But X-Rite has been very, very, very naughty by removing the spot colour application from the software. And you also have to remember, or bear one thing in mind, this device runs on a different piece of software than this if you are using a software calibration method, because you haven't got a hardware calibratable monitor. So you can't actually do a level playing field test yourself. There is another version kicking around of this called the i1Studio. I have no experience with that whatsoever, but I have heard it's got one or two limitations or things you can't do or settings you can't access that you can access when using the i1 Display Pro. So there you go. I've got a page on my old blog actually, which I'll link through in the description below. It's just gear that I recommend, and yes, it's got Amazon links all over it, but hey, we've got to make a living, you know, and especially in these trying COVID times, it looks like it's going to take off again, so fingers crossed it doesn't. But anyway, hope you found that useful, hope you found it interesting. If you have, don't forget, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, say something nice below. If you've got something nasty to say, do us all a favour and keep it to your bloody self, alright? Okay, so there you go, guys. Until the next time, stay safe, stay well, keep taking the pictures, and I shall see you in the next one. Tooroo!